The information shared on the Allo podcast is not intended as medical advice. Your medical care decisions should be made in consultation with your physician who is familiar with your specific case.
Welcome to Season 4 of the Allo podcast from the Allo Hope Foundation. I'm Bethany Weathersby, back again, still allo immunized, still completely obsessed with HDFN babies and their fierce, amazing moms. We're back.
And I'm Molly. Oh, sorry.
No,
you
I
didn't
just
finish
broke
your
in.
sentence.
I just threw a little thing out there as you were. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm Molly Sherwood, your friendly neighborhood nerd. Also, still allo-immunized, still enthusiastically researching the heck out of this disease because somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
And honestly, I'm here for it. So we are so excited to kick off a brand new season of the Allo podcast. It is wild to think we've made it to season 4.
I know. That's crazy. Like,
Truly did not think that
No.
we would keep doing it.
why are you laughing?
I just really didn't think we were going to be doing this. I really do think it's
Right.
wild.
That's true. Well, when we started, we didn't know if anyone would tune in and actually listen to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we knew there was a desperate need, right? Obviously, a need for connection, support, and real information about alloimmunization and HDFN. And we were just hoping that someone would want to hear it. And now here we are, 4 seasons in, surrounded by this incredible community of listeners who are educating themselves, they're advocating fiercely, and becoming actual experts in this condition and their own care. It's really so inspiring.
It really is. And I actually remember when we decided to do this, we said to each other, if this helps one listener, it is worth it.
Right.
And I think it has.
I think definitely.
I mean, I would imagine
so.
one. You gotta hope. I mean, anyway, this community is really the definition of strength and brilliance. And this season, we're building on all of that. So we've got everything from unique treatment options, crazy case studies, NICU deep dives, international stories, powerful patient voices, and always the emotional roller coaster of all the laughs and all the crying that comes with alloimmunization and HDFN.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe we should have less crying this time.
I think
Do you think?
this is going to be, we're going to try this season.
All right.
We
We're
cried
gonna
a
be
lot
optimistic.
last season. Yeah.
Yeah. And the one before and the one before.
Yeah, you're right.
But really, at its core, the Allo podcast and Allo Hope itself, the Allo Hope Foundation, is all centered around keeping babies safe and supporting the mothers and providers doing everything in their power to get these babies here. And the more you understand about this condition, the better equipped you are to advocate, to act early, and to have a safe and healthy pregnancy. So we want this season to inform you, empower you, and hopefully make you laugh a little bit. Maybe cry. I don't know. Sometimes it's good to get a healthy cry out. But whether you are doing laundry or driving to your MFM appointment or crying in the hospital parking garage or just trying to figure out the best course of action for your alloimmunized patient, you belong here. You are not alone in this.
Yes. I am so ready for today's episode. We're kicking off season 4 with a really good one, bizarre facts and fascinating case studies of HDFN. This episode has some really interesting facts, crazy plot twists, and we're even going to end with a mystery that we need your help to solve because we do not know. We are waiting to know.
We don't know.
And these unexpected stories are more than just interesting. They also teach us so much. They show us what's possible, what can go wrong, and what can go very right when care teams understand this disease and step up for alloimmunized moms and their babies. And as a bonus, this episode will serve as a little bit of a refresher on HDFN, and it will expand what we already know about it. So whether you're new or seasoned, you'll be ready for this glorious nerd fest that's coming in future episodes.
Yes, let's nerd
Damn.
out. Let's go. Okay, we're starting with 5 bizarre facts about HDFN. And if you've been deep in the aloe world for a while, like we have, some of these might feel normal by now. Maybe you already know some of these bizarre facts, but trust me, they are not normal. They are strange and kind of amazing. And if you're new here, prepare to have your mind blown just a little bit.
Some of these, though, I feel like even our veteran listeners might be surprised.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see
We
what people
we were
think.
surprised preparing for this,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take turns sharing them one at a time. I'll do one, you do one. You know, I love a really solid organizational plan and structure. It just makes me so happy.
So true. I do know that about you. Okay, so please don't be mad at me
Oh,
when I already have to jump in and slightly mess up the systematic list of bizarre facts.
just why? Why?
Just, I have to.
Every
I'm
day,
sorry.
just the fun.
Okay, look, I think that this actual disease itself is bizarre. This is a bizarre fact that we're living. Okay, like
Yeah.
the whole entire situation is very weird. So the first fact is just an acknowledgement, if you will, of the strangeness of this disease. And I'm not going to count that weird fact in the list of 5. Okay, so I guess technically there's 6 bizarre facts, but the first one is like, I'm going to label it as the intro bizarre fact. Okay, just roll with it, Molly.
Okay, the system is gone. Let's call this. This is going to be fact 0 in my mind. Fact 0.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, intro fact. Let's go.
Okay.
Did you know that a mom's immune system can treat her baby like a foreign invader? Okay, most of us know that, but please, let's just think about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's just
so-
ponder actually how wild that is.
Truly.
Even though it's normal for us. True.
But when we are telling others about this condition, do you ever notice their face? And
Yeah.
when they're like, wait, what? The dad's
So
blood
true.
type? What? You know, it's just okay. So in alloimmunization, a pregnant person's immune system produces antibodies that cross the placenta or that can cross the placenta and attack the baby's red blood cells simply because the red blood cells were inherited from the baby's father. And it's basically a case of mistaken identity that becomes life-threatening. And like we said, most of our listeners already understand this, but just truly step back and appreciate how bizarre this is. Like, mothers are uniquely equipped to grow and protect and nourish our developing baby. If you think about how long we're pregnant, and then for those of us who breastfeed, it's just like I'm giving so much of literally myself to this baby. So it's like literally in our biology, and yet alloimmunized mothers have an immune system that will simultaneously try to seek out and destroy our babies while we are also growing and nourishing them. It's really mind-boggling to think about.
That is pretty crazy. I like
Yeah.
it. I like that as a fact 0.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So just setting the tone, like we're just starting out with a strange, unique disease. All right. So
All right, give
wait,
me number 1. Lay it on
Oh,
me.
me? You want me to do number 1? Okay.
Well, that's how it was.
I know. Is that weird?
No, we threw off
Okay.
the whole.
You're like, the system is gone. It's
the
dead.
system is gone. It doesn't matter.
You
No.
destroyed it. Okay. Fine.
Go for it. Lay it on me.
Okay. This one is so strange, guys. All right. Did you know that women can develop red cell antibodies without ever being pregnant or receiving a blood transfusion? So most people know that a woman can develop red cell antibodies from a prior pregnancy or an incompatible blood transfusion, right? Because that's what exposes the woman to a blood type that's different from her own. But women can also be sensitized and can develop red cell antibodies through shared needles or through organ transplant. And the strangest of all, researchers have found that a woman can actually be primed to develop antibodies and potentially become sensitized by her own mother while she is in utero. If the mother becomes sensitized during pregnancy or delivery, it's the baby's different blood type that's sensitizing the mother, correct? That's what we're used to. But in this case, it's actually the mother sensitizing the baby. Okay, so this is super rare, but like I'll just try to lay it out clearly. I don't know how well I'll do, but I'll just try. So let's say the mother's Rh positive. She gets pregnant and her baby in utero is Rh negative. In rare cases, the mother's Rh positive red blood cells can cross the placenta and enter her Rh negative baby's bloodstream. Okay, so that like sets the stage for an immune reaction later. So when that Rh negative baby grows up and then she gets pregnant with an Rh positive baby of her own, that mother could have developed antibodies when she was exposed to her mother's Rh positive blood as a newborn. So this mother could potentially have a very strong immune response and create anti-D antibodies to her Rh positive baby, even in the first pregnancy, if she's never been pregnant, never had a blood transfusion, organ transplant, or shared needles. And so one study found that having an Rh positive mother was equivalent to already having had one sensitized pregnancy for some Rh negative women. It's sometimes called the grandmother effect. Dr. Moise and I have talked about this a lot, but yeah, it can sometimes be called we nerd out. He's the ultimate nerd.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
He's leading the charge. So it can be called the grandmother effect because the grandmother is essentially the catalyst for the grandchild's HDFN. Does that make any sense at all?
It's in a crazy way it does, because I'm willing to believe anything at all after experiencing our disease.
That's so true.
You know? And didn't we talk about this as a possibility with our friend Agna, who we interviewed a couple seasons ago? Because during her first pregnancy, she was found to already be sensitized early in her first pregnancy and with super crazy high titers, despite never being pregnant, never having a blood transfusion, never sharing needles or having an organ transplant.
Yes, exactly. And actually, none of us, including Agna, could figure out how that had happened, how she had become sensitized. And then Dr. Moise and I were talking about it, and he explained this phenomenon to us as a possibility. And it just sounded like science fiction or something really interesting. And we aren't sure if that is how Agna became sensitized, but it is a bizarre possibility. And that's why we wanted to share it here. And Dr. Moise said that he has seen it before as well.
That is crazy. And yeah, just to reiterate, obviously that's super, super rare. And her titers were like in the millions, which we basically never see.
Crazy.
And I think maybe it is sort of a byproduct of this wild way of becoming sensitized. But
wow.
Who knows?
All right.
Okay, I have number 2.
Another bizarre fact. Yeah.
So, did you know that baby boys with HDFN may face a slightly steeper hill to climb in their recovery than baby girls? Studies have shown that male infants with HDFN are more likely to develop neutropenia, which is a condition where the body has a low level of neutrophils, which are the white blood cells that help fight infection. There's one study this is actually a lot of babies. They don't normally have HDFN studies with this many, with 339 infants with HDFN. And they found that 76% of the babies who developed neutropenia were boys. And another study found that male gender was a significant risk factor for developing neutropenia secondary to HDFN. But in any case, the encouraging part here is that almost always neutropenia just resolves, and in these studies too, resolved without intervention and without any complications in just a few days. So while HDFN can affect any baby, the data suggests that boys may be just a bit more vulnerable to certain complications like neutropenia than females. And this is just one of those weird little patterns we've seen in the research. So if you've got a baby boy with HDFN, this can be one extra thing your team can watch out for just in case, but remember it can resolve on its own. Fun fact.
Wow, that is so good to know. And I mean, a lot of these are not going to be super relevant, right, to us. You know, it's just interesting. But I really believe that knowledge is power. And so if you know these things are a possibility, you're already ahead of the game. And so even though it's very, very, I don't know, unlikely to affect us, it's just good to know. And actually, of my 3 surviving HDFN babies, so I had 1 girl, 2 boys, and the only one that really had neutropenia was Callum, and he was born early, and his neutropenia was a bit prolonged, like almost a year long. But he handled it well and just kind of occasionally tended to get sick if he was around a lot of other babies. And he got sick more often than my other babies did at that age. But he totally handled it and outgrew it on his own. It wasn't a big deal, but definitely something to watch and be aware of. So, yeah, very good to know. Great information.
I'm going to do the next one too, I think.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Is this breaking your system though, Molly?
It's okay. The system's already
Is it
broken,
okay?
and so now everything is just
Nothing
you know?
matters.
Nothing matters anymore.
No. Okay.
Okay. You know how
just
we
the way
always
I like it. Okay.
thriving on chaos. All right, here we go.
Yeah. Okay.
You know how we always say that anemic babies can sometimes look pale, and we say that babies with high bilirubin levels can sometimes look yellow. Well, here's another fun color. Very rarely, HDFN babies, but not just HDFN babies, but it can happen in HDFN, can have temporary skin discoloration to the point of looking almost like, I feel like it's a gray bluish, in my opinion. What do you know what I'm saying? They can have
it's like a statue that has had some weathering. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just like that. The funny thing is, it's that color is not even the color that's used in the name. The name of this condition is called bronze baby syndrome. Maybe you're thinking, maybe like a bronze statue. Actually, that would make sense.
It's not like a bronze medal.
Not thinking of this.
You're getting at the Olympics.
No. It's like a dusty
greenish
color.
Yeah.
And it's actually a complication in some cases of intensive phototherapy for babies who have received multiple days of intensive phototherapy treatment for high bilirubin levels. And the reason why is not totally understood and agreed on, but it's usually totally harmless and it goes away on its own once bilirubin levels drop with treatment.
Yeah, we've actually seen this in some of our HDFN babies. Remember Brittany? She was on season 2, I think.
Right.
Her son Micah had it, and it's crazy to see because the areas of the body that aren't exposed to the light don't really have the discoloration like the area under the diaper, and so just this crazy color and then contrast on your baby's skin can be really concerning for parents, right? But hopefully they feel comforted knowing that it's usually harmless. It will fade over time once the treatment stops. And little Micah has normal skin color now. He's doing great.
Did you know that some babies with severe HDFN have had 100% of their red blood cells destroyed by maternal antibodies by the time they are born? So these babies can have completely healthy outcomes and even avoid the NICU if they've received proactive prenatal care from expert MFMs. And as the mother's antibodies destroy the baby's blood, the providers essentially refill the baby with antigen-negative donor blood through intrauterine transfusions. And because the blood, here's another, this is almost like a two-parter. This is a great one.
Yeah.
Man, how did I get so lucky? I'm just delivering all these fun things. Okay.
Way to rub it in, Molly.
Because the blood is antigen negative, the mom's antibodies can't destroy it. So these babies are usually born 100% O negative donor blood. So this also means that when they're born, nobody actually knows their true blood type that their body
That's
will
so
make.
weird.
So their tests will show an O negative blood type, but only weeks or months later, after the donor blood dies off, will the baby's real blood type be evident on blood tests.
Right. And then let's add another weird thing to this is that these babies often, well, if they are 100% donor blood, they will have a negative DCT or DAT. Which one? Direct Coombs test, direct.
Agglutination.
Yeah, either way. But that's the same test, right? It's just different names for it. So that's the test they do on the baby's cord blood right after birth to see if the baby has maternal antibodies attached to their red blood cells and destroying their red blood cells. And that's how we know if the baby officially is diagnosed with HDFN or not. So these babies have a negative result because their blood is not their own. It's antigen negative and it's not being destroyed. So they'll have a negative test even though they are severely affected by HDFN.
That is
So
crazy.
it is. But really, it's so bizarre to be born 100% filled with someone else's blood, right? So
Yeah,
like,
when you put it that way, that's extra weird.
it is. It's someone else's blood was in my baby in my uterus. So it's just like all the red blood cells in your body are from someone else's body, and then all of this happened before you even took your first breath. You know? So, like, where are we in time and space that this is possible?
I don't even know.
It's crazy. And by the way, all three of my HDFN babies were 100% other people's blood when they were born. They were all O negative, and now I think they're all A positive. It's terrible. I mean, do moms know their kids' blood types?
No, I don't think
Okay.
most humans know their blood types. I don't
Okay,
think
that makes me feel better.
We
like,
should, but
like they're not humans.
yeah, not even humans.
And humans know them too. Oh man. Okay. Very interesting. So I'm gonna do the last one. Yes, finally my turn in Molly's system. So okay, this one, I love this one. It's so cool. It also sounds like it came straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it is real and it's saving lives. Did you know that in some remote parts of Africa where hospitals don't have reliable access to donor blood or essential medical supplies, they're using drones to literally airdrop. I even think they have little parachutes. Airdrop donor blood to remote hospitals when a patient needs a blood transfusion, like actual flying drones. Okay. And Rwanda was one of the first countries to partner with a company called Zipline, who drops off critical supplies by drone to these remote hospitals, often in under 30 minutes, when it would have normally taken hours or even days to drive the supplies there by car on these like super rugged roads.
That is so impressive. And for babies with HDFN in low resource areas, and also for just humans who need blood in those areas. I mean, it's a huge problem. Getting compatible blood in time can mean the difference between life and death. And sometimes in certain places in the world, you may be waiting days for blood that you urgently need to survive. I love that of all things, it is drones that is bridging that gap for us. It's like a little boy's fantasy of what he wanted to do when he grows up.
Yes.
I'm going to design this drone that delivers blood.
I'm going to be the hero, and I'm going to put a parachute on donor blood bags and drop it into the mountains. I mean, it does sound like it was first conceptualized in the mind of a creative 6-year-old boy. But I mean, we kind of have to get creative, though, to find solutions. And this is honestly one of the most innovative and hopeful solutions we've seen in this space. I love it. It's incredible.
I agree. I love it. All right. Loved that list of bizarre facts.
I did too. That was
I
fun.
also love that we can know all of this interesting stuff and have such creative advancements in care for a disease that we've only known about for less than a century.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it only became treatable several decades ago. So I think we are doing pretty
Yeah.
well, and I cannot wait to discover more about our condition.
Hmm.
So, what about let's look at a couple of interesting case studies. So, sometimes
Yes.
when you're publishing research, usually, it's a good idea to try to get it in lots of people so you can do a study. But sometimes when something so crazy happens, it is important enough to share just this one single case. And so, doctors publish those too. So, anyway,
Hmm.
let's share some case studies. Do you want to go with the
Yeah.
first one?
Sure. Okay, let's do it. So, this is the first case study involves multiple red cell antibodies. It does involve a fetal loss and an interesting treatment protocol that worked surprisingly well. Okay, our patient here was a 28-year-old mom. She's pregnant with her fourth baby. She had 3 prior pregnancies, and unfortunately, her antibody list kind of looked like something out of a worst case scenario textbook. And
Mm.
I'll tell you why. So she had anti-D antibodies, she had anti-K antibodies, and she had non-specific IgG antibodies, which means they don't know what type of antibody it is yet. So, yeah, she was sensitized with both D and Kell. She had never had blood transfusions, which means it's probably from the father of her children. And her providers suspect the sensitization happened during her first pregnancy, which was complicated by placenta previa.
That is definitely super rare to see a mom have
Yeah.
both anti D and anti K. I
Mm.
can't think of a patient in our community that has both, although there probably are a few. But the two most dangerous red cell antibodies are those two. And to know
Mm-hmm.
that the patient never had a transfusion is scary because that means it probably did come from her previous babies. So her babies to follow also are likely
Mm.
at risk.
Yeah. Totally agree. It's so rare. And then she had that unknown antibody in the mix too. They're just
Mm.
like, it's something, but we don't know what it is. So, in that first pregnancy, her first pregnancy ever, her baby was born at 37 weeks, did okay overall, but the baby still had some hyperbilirubinemia that required time in the NICU and then 3 red cell transfusions
Mm.
while in the NICU before discharge. So then, pregnancy number 2, they monitored the baby closely with MCA Dopplers starting at 16 weeks. So that sounds like great care. And by 21 weeks, fetal anemia was detected. The team prepared for an intrauterine transfusion, but before they could even start, the baby died.
Wow.
Which is just devastating. It sounds like it really advanced quickly, which would make sense with D and Kell
Mm.
antibodies at play. So paternal testing showed that the father was homozygous for Kell, which that is very rare. So if a just quick little
Yeah.
fact, in order for him to be homozygous, that means both of his parents have to be Kell positive. So he's homozygous for Kell, and then he's heterozygous for D. And her third pregnancy ended early with a miscarriage unrelated to HDFN. And so now in this case study, she's pregnant again with baby number 4. She's terrified. And this time, they're going to try everything to protect the baby in utero from these really aggressive maternal antibodies. So genetic testing showed that the baby was positive for both Kell and D antigens, which is just so unfortunate. And the mother's antibody titers were definitely critical for both. Anti K titer was 512, and D titer was 128 at just 10 weeks.
Basically, this baby was at very high risk for early onset severe anemia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so much risk. So the care team started plasmapheresis at 10 weeks gestation. She had 3 sessions every other day where they removed plasma from the mother and replaced it with albumin. Her antibody titers dropped pretty dramatically. Anti K went from 512 to 128, and anti D from 128 to 32. And then that nonspecific antibody we talked about disappeared completely. So that's awesome.
I love that they were looking at all the different tools available to them in the sort of hypothetical HDFN toolbox. I love to
Yeah.
see that when you have to just really specialize care. And I think we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk more about the toolbox concept throughout this season too.
Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, I love that idea. So the next tool that they kind of reached for was IVIG. They gave her a 2 gram per kilogram loading dose of IVIG over 2 days. And she did have some pretty gnarly side effects, which many of us do, unfortunately. She had headaches, nausea. So they adjusted her plan. For the next 10 weeks, she got 1 gram per kilogram of IVIG every week, but they split it into 2 smaller infusions each week. And it worked. So she didn't have any more complications from the IVIG infusions, and the antibodies stayed somewhat dormant at first. At 16 weeks, they started MCA Doppler scans to monitor the baby super closely for fetal anemia. So by 22 weeks, the baby's MOM was 1.9. So that's like urgent transfusion.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to think that so they're watching closely, and yet within the course of a week it went from, I guess, not very remarkable to 1.9.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It sounds like rapidly advancing fetal anemia.
Mm-hmm.
So they performed an IUT, and then they found that the baby's hematocrit was 20. So baby was pretty anemic at that point. They also confirmed during that IUT that the baby was D positive and Kell positive, like they thought, and both maternal antibodies were actively destroying the baby's red blood cells. So over the next 15 weeks, they did 7 IUTs total, and this mom made it all the way to 37 weeks when she delivered a healthy baby girl by C-section.
Wow.
Amazing.
How did the baby do after that?
She did so well. She had some phototherapy for jaundice. She stayed in the NICU for 4 days and went home with no additional transfusions or complications afterwards.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
that's so crazy.
To start with both
I know.
anti-Kell and anti-D in the hundreds, a baby who's positive for both,
Yeah.
previous stillbirth to HDFN, 7 IUTs, full-term healthy baby. Like that is
That's crazy.
so bizarre in a very beautiful way to watch it
Yeah.
unfold in a way that ends with a positive outcome. And if
Yeah.
we look at it from a management standpoint, that is like a master class in what happens when a team has the right tools and they know how to use them.
Yes, so true. It also shows that HDFN isn't just about the titers, right? It's about strategic, proactive, well coordinated care. And like you said, when plasmapheresis and IVIG are used in the right context, they can literally rewrite the ending of that story and that pregnancy. Okay, so let's look at our second HDFN case study, and it certainly is a rare one. This one involves the Kell null phenotype and a very unusual antibody called anti-KU. If you've never heard of anti-KU, buckle up because this is HDFN at its most complex. So, a woman who was pregnant with her 4th baby presented at term for delivery at the hospital, but they soon discovered that her baby was showing signs of fetal distress. So she ended up having an emergency C-section. Her baby needed immediate intubation after birth due to dangerously low oxygen levels. Labs were rushed, and the results showed severe anemia in the baby caused by HDFN. So the medical team urgently tried to find compatible donor blood. It has to match the antibodies in the baby's blood, but there was none. There was no matching units of donor blood available, which is so unusual. And then unfortunately, the baby passed away shortly after birth, which is so sad. And I can just imagine how scary that was for the mother and for everyone. So this case was referred to the National Blood Authority, and after further testing, it was confirmed that the mother had anti-KU antibodies, which only occur in patients who have this extremely rare Kell null phenotype. So to give you an idea of how rare that is, most people have some form of Kell antigen, but Kell null individuals have none. And anti-KU reacts with all Kell antigens except the null phenotype. So that person's guaranteed to basically to have a mismatch if they're ever given donor blood, right? When it comes to transfusions, you have to have blood from another Kell null person if this person needs a blood transfusion, and that's about as needle in a haystack as it gets. Like, I don't know how you find a donor like that.
Yeah. And it sounds like you're talking about being Kell antigen negative, but you're actually not. You're saying Kell null.
It's almost unheard of. That's how rare it is. But okay, so back to the case study. Fast forward to her 5th pregnancy. Remember her 4th baby she lost after birth. 5th pregnancy, but this time the care team pulls out all the stops. They screen her family ahead of time and found out miraculously that her brother had the Kell null phenotype. So they really hit the jackpot there. So the mother's brother had that phenotype, that type of blood. They planned 3 separate blood donations from him. One of the donations was to freeze that donor blood. One was in case an intrauterine transfusion was needed. And then another donation was for delivery. They had it on standby for delivery. And that was in case the baby or the mother needed a blood transfusion at delivery. So they monitored her closely with MCA Doppler scans, and despite her anti-KU titer climbing all the way to 1024, they never detected fetal anemia, so that's great.
Wow.
At delivery, the baby was born alive, but did have severe jaundice and anemia due to HDFN. Plus, the baby had congenital pneumonia, which just complicated things further. But thanks to that really precious, ultra rare Kell null blood from the baby's uncle, the newborn was successfully transfused and then eventually discharged home safe and sound and made a complete recovery.
That is amazing. And I'm
I
so
know.
glad they found a blood match in her sibling, the mom's sibling,
Right.
and the team was able to plan everything so precisely.
Yeah.
We had one mom recently who had this phenotype, and I know that the doctor who cared for her was having her donate her own blood to prepare for this exact situation. It really
Right.
shows how rare antibodies require rare preparation. And that mom lost a baby because no one knew what she needed. But the next time it was textbook precision and her baby lived. If that is not the perfect example of how planning and knowledge literally saves lives, I do not know what is.
Right. It's so inspiring to see that. And I just want to add a little info about when a mother donates her own blood for her baby. In this case, they have to treat the mother's blood and make sure that all of the maternal antibodies are out of the blood, and they are just giving the red blood cells, which don't have any of those antibodies in them. And that's why it's safe. I don't know if anyone
glad
was
you added
wondering
that.
about that, but yeah.
You're like, I was. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the note of how planning and knowledge can save lives, listen to this crazy antibody that we have never talked about. And we haven't ever known anyone with this, and I don't think we've ever heard any of the doctors on our medical advisory board talk about this either. Okay, so the blood type that can potentially develop this antibody only happens in about 6 in 1 million people. Not that 6 in 1 million people have this antibody. I am saying that only 6 in 1 million people are even capable of developing this antibody. And so it has a weird name, too, that probably we'll never remember after this. And it's called anti-PP1PK. And you have to have a very rare little p phenotype. So have you ever
Okay.
dealt with this in any way, shape, or form?
Big nope. Never. Literally, I don't think I'd ever heard of it until we were preparing for this.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
know it's rare if you did not know. Okay.
Yeah, no.
So, you know what's very unique about this one is that the anti-PP1PK antibodies can cause HDFN in the way that we are used to seeing HDFN, but they also actually interfere with placental trophoblasts. That means the very early cells that are going to turn into the placenta that are kind of a part of the blastocyst in the
Uh-huh.
first couple weeks of conception. So basically, this is like pre-placenta forming. So if these
Whoa.
antibodies attack the pre-placental cells, think about what would make this super unique that's totally unlike the rest of how red cell antibodies work.
That's crazy. That okay, because we always say that HDFN can only affect babies in second or third trimester, right? So would
Mm-hmm.
this mean that it's actually destroying cells so early that it could maybe cause like a first trimester miscarriage?
Yes, exactly. This
Whoa,
is the only
that's
red cell
weird.
antibody, to my knowledge, that we've ever seen that can cause first trimester miscarriages. So the article, which we will link to about this, actually did a search of all of the published research literature and found only 16 women ever reported to have this antibody, and most of them had experienced recurrent miscarriages. One of them experienced 13 miscarriages in the first
Oh my
trimester.
gosh. Wow. Okay, so I have a
Mm-hmm.
couple of quick questions. Okay, number one, how would someone even know if they have this super rare antibody? And then can you even treat it? How would you treat it if it's happening that early in the pregnancy?
So, fortunately, yes and yes. So,
Okay.
this is also part of routine antibody screening. So, for any woman who's receiving that routine first trimester blood test to screen for antibodies, this would also be tested for. So,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't want people to be concerned about this. And obviously, like I explained, this is so incredibly unlikely and rare. And in terms of treatment, they actually treat it with plasmapheresis 1 to 5
Wow.
times per week, starting
Whoa.
really early, like
That's
5 weeks
interesting.
gestation.
Yeah. Okay.
And in one of the 16 cases, they also used IVIG, but usually it's just plasmapheresis. And it has shown to result in taking the pregnancy all the way to viability.
Wow.
So it's crazy. So the case with the mom who had 13 miscarriages, then she started having plasmapheresis and she went on to deliver at 33 weeks. She had a baby that was DAT positive, so has HDFN, and that baby only
Mm-hmm.
needed phototherapy.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's so wild. I'm so
Mm-hmm.
glad that that mom was able to take a living baby home after 13
I know.
miscarriages. That's, oh,
Totally agree.
wow.
And we are like the luckiest people ever that we get to watch victories like that happen
Yeah.
sometimes in our work. So, victories like that, even with difficult cases, is where we're hoping to continue with the rest of this season because support and knowledge really saves lives.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, now that we're wrapping up, I mustn't
Yes.
forget. I want to hear about the
Oh, yeah.
mystery that we teased
Okay.
early.
This will be super quick. And I genuinely would love for any of our listeners to email us, let us know if you have a potential like answer or like if you can actually solve the mystery. Okay, here it is. So the babies who have had multiple IUTs during pregnancy, sometimes after birth, when they have their normal newborn screen, so that's the test that all newborn babies receive to kind of screen the baby for genetic conditions that could be passed down that might need urgent treatment. And so the babies, some babies who have had multiple IUTs will receive a positive result on their newborn screen for genetic disorders. Specifically, this one, we see it again and again. Babies are testing positive for something called carnitine deficiency disorder, or it can also be called carnitine uptake deficiency disorder.
Hmm.
And they're testing positive. But remember, since they've had multiple IUTs, they are fully donor blood. So the blood that's actually being tested is the donor blood. And yet it keeps testing positive for this one specific genetic metabolic condition. And then if the provider waits until the baby is producing its own blood, and all the donor blood has died off, and then it's the baby's actual blood. They redo the newborn screen and it comes back normal, and they don't have that disorder. And so I've asked Dr. Moise about this. We've like tried to brainstorm about what could potentially be causing these babies to test positive for this one specific disorder, and no one knows.
Mystery.
So I would love for anyone who knows, please tell us, solve this riddle for us. And
put us
by the way,
misery, not knowing.
it is scary as a mom. Like 2 of my babies tested positive for it. So I got this call from like the state health department saying your baby had this positive on this newborn screen for this potentially serious, potentially life-threatening disorder. And so it was very scary. And then they didn't actually have it. So let us know, and something to be aware of if your baby has had multiple IUTs. So that was like super interesting. Thanks for nerding out with us today. Molly,
Great
do you
little
want to?
nerd hour.
Yeah, that was so fun. Do you want to finish this out?
Okay. All right, here we go. Whether you are a patient, provider, or otherwise affected by antibodies in pregnancy, we are here for you. We have great resources on our website at allohopefoundation.org. That's allo, spelled A-L-L-O, hopefoundation.org.
Thanks for listening.
The Allo podcast is offered by the Allo Hope Foundation, a nonprofit organization. This means that our ability to continue this work depends on corporate sponsorships, small research grants, and donations. While sponsorships and grants are vital, they're often restricted to specific activities, and they do not cover the everyday work that keeps our mission moving. Things like creating educational materials, writing grant applications, running our social media, and especially managing our rapidly growing patient support group where we counsel women every day. They also do not cover the direct support we provide to families who cannot access life-saving care, whether that's the cost of an antibody screen in Kenya or bus fare for a mom in the U.S. who needs to travel for an intrauterine transfusion. If you've ever wondered whether a donation of any size makes an impact, it truly does. Please visit our show notes for information on how to donate to AHF or to become a recurring donor. Your support gives our small organization the stability we need to continue this work and ensure no family faces HDFN alone.
Yeah.
Those were the days in our childhood, Groundhog Days.
Not in Africa.
That's true. What am I saying?
Those were the
Again,
animals we were worried about.
You know what
in
would have been
Africa.
bizarre for you if you woke up in Africa that day and everyone wanted to talk about Groundhog Day? That would have been bizarre.